Boris Johnson made an unexpected announcement during PMQs yesterday that he hopes to lift all remaining COVID restrictions as soon as a fortnight's time, a month earlier than previously planned. But was it a welcome surprise for everybody? Let's speak to Devi Sridhar, who is a Professor of Global Public Health at Edinburgh University Medical School. Hi, thanks for joining us on the programme this morning. It was certainly a surprise. Is it a welcome surprise?
I don't think it'll be a welcome surprise to most people. I think we have lifted most restrictions. We're getting out of lockdown. We're getting normal life back. Vaccines and therapeutics and testing have enabled that. But to release isolation, isolation is about stopping someone who's infectious, passing that on to someone else. It's, I think, too early right now. We have great lateral flow tests. They identify if someone has a high viral load, if they're infectious. We have a system where if you test negative on that after day 5, day 6, you can get out of isolation. I don't know why you change that right now when we still have over 200 deaths a day to COVID.
OK. I read an interesting article that you were involved with in The Guardian, where you said humans are social. We need to hug, dance, sing and recognise each other's faces and smiles. Just looking at that, so you do think that we need to get back to normal as quickly as possible, but what you're suggesting is that it's just too soon.
It is, and I think if you look at the timing, it's really clearly to create headlines today and distract from the problems that the Prime Minister is facing, which is that he seems to have broken lockdown rules, which other people had to face accountability for and actually had consequences for, thinking of the chief medical officer in Scotland who had to resign. There are many people who broke rules and had to face the consequences, and we're now having a shifting of the dialogue towards discussing the end of the pandemic because there's a need to create a diversion instead of looking at that issue and saying the scientific evidence isn't there right now to completely release isolation for someone who's actively infectious.
So you think he's just doing it to take away from what's been happening with the lockdown parties at Downing Street and the police investigation?
Yeah, sadly, I think that's the case right now. And the good news is we are heading towards a time where we probably will not have to isolate, hopefully in a couple of months when we head into summer, when we understand more about waning immunity, the boosters, how long they last for those who are vulnerable and elderly. We know that the system we have now with vaccines and boosters, lateral flow testing, and therapeutics, antivirals in hospitals are making this a manageable disease. We've largely defanged it, taken the poison out of the bite of COVID-19, but it still can bite. And even getting Omicron after 3 vaccines can knock people out for a week, 2 weeks. So the idea that, we just have to pretend it's gone because we say it is a bit foolish. We should instead be saying it's a serious disease, still killing over 200 people a day. We've accepted that death toll as a society right now. What do we do to manage it better going into the future while trying to create opportunities for young people, address the cost of living, address heating issues, and kind of get back to being a functioning, healthy society?
The COVID-19 Bereaved Families for Justice Association are furious by the announcement. They're suggesting that well over 1,500 people a week are still dying as a result of COVID. If all the restrictions are lifted within the next 2 weeks, what's your advice to the public?
Well, I think the first thing is to do the right thing. So if you do test positive and you're unwell, stay off until your lateral flow is negative, just to make sure you don't infect others. I don't think anyone wants that kind of responsibility for what might be a mild illness for you being a serious illness for someone else. Continue wearing your masks in public spaces. Think of crowded spaces when you're in shops and public transport. You don't know who the person next to you is and what they might be facing in their lives or in their families. And just to continue to look out for each other and recognize, yes, we want to get back to all the things we wanted to do before, but to use your testing, use your vaccines, get boosted, and let's get back to a healthy society, but using those tools, not pretending COVID is just gone.